Paralyzed billionaire laughs at a child's offer. Then the house stands still. What would you do if a poor little child walked up to your mansion and said, "I can help you walk again"? That's exactly what happened to Richard Hemsley, a billionaire who had everything money could buy, except the ability to walk. Richard was once called the man who could buy the world. He owned luxury hotels, private jets, and a house so large it had 42 rooms. But one night his private plane crashed. He survived, but when he woke up in the hospital, the doctor said, "Mr. Hemsley, your spine is damaged. You may never walk again." Those words broke him completely. Months passed. Richard refused to see anyone. He stayed in his golden wheelchair by the window, watching the world move freely outside while he felt trapped inside his own body. His mansion became silent, and everyone who worked there feared his anger and sadness. One cold morning, while he was staring at the garden from his window, he noticed a small figure standing by the gate. It was a boy, no older than 10, selling paper flowers. His clothes were torn, and his shoes looked like they had walked through a storm. The guard tried to chase the boy away, but Richard stopped him and said, "Bring him here." When the boy came in, he held out a small paper flower and said softly, "Good morning, sir. Would you like to buy a flower? I made it myself. It brings good luck." Richard gave a short, bitter laugh. "Good luck," he said. "Do I look like a man who needs paper luck?" The boy looked at him with calm eyes and replied, "Maybe not, sir, but it can help you walk again." The entire room went silent. For the first time in months, Richard laughed loudly. "You think your paper flower can make me walk? Do you know who I am? I've spent millions on doctors who failed." But the boy didn't look scared. He gently placed the paper flower on the table beside Richard and said, "Sometimes it's not about money, sir. It's about believing again." Then he turned to leave. Something in Richard's heart felt strange. "Wait," he said. "What's your name?" "Eli," the boy replied with a small smile. "My mom says miracles come to those who give them a chance." Then he walked away quietly. That night, Richard couldn't sleep. He kept looking at the little paper flower on his desk. It was made from an old newspaper, folded neatly and tied with a red thread. He didn't believe in miracles. He believed in power and money. But the boy's words kept replaying in his mind. Sometimes it's not about money, it's about believing again. The next morning, he sent his driver to find the boy, but no one had seen him. No one in the whole town had heard of a boy selling paper flowers. It was as if he had disappeared. Days turned into weeks. The paper flower stayed beside Richard's bed, and slowly, something began to change inside him. He started waking up earlier. He began reading again. He opened his curtains to let sunlight in. And for the first time since the accident, he told his doctor, "Let's try the therapy again." 3 months later, on a bright Sunday morning, Richard's therapist stood beside him and said, "Okay, Mr. Hemsley, just one step today. Hold on to the bars and trust yourself." Richard looked down at his legs, sweat covered his forehead, his heart raced. He looked at the paper flower on the windowsill, still standing tall, and then he moved. His right foot touched the ground, then the left. It wasn't perfect, but it was movement. His therapist gasped in shock. Tears filled Richard's eyes as he whispered, "Eli, you were right." The moment he took that second shaky step, everyone in the mansion stopped what they were doing. The servants, the maids, the guards, everyone froze. The huge mansion that had been quiet for so long suddenly stood completely still. The paralyzed billionaire was walking again. That evening, Richard went back to the same garden gate where he had first seen Eli. He placed a bouquet of real flowers there, with a note that read, "To the boy who gave me back my belief, thank you." He never saw Eli again. But from that day forward, Richard changed everything. He used his money to build hospitals and centers for children with disabilities. On every building, he placed a small paper flower symbol, a reminder that kindness and faith are worth more than gold. Years later, people asked him how he managed to walk again. Richard would smile and say, "A child taught me that miracles don't always come from doctors. Sometimes they come from paper." And if you ever visit one of his hospitals today, you'll see a glass case in the main hall. Inside it sits one old paper flower tied with a red thread, the same flower that stopped a mansion and made a heart believe again. Never underestimate the power of kindness or faith. Miracles can come from the smallest hands and the simplest hearts. This story is brought to you by Hopewell Stories, where every story brings hope to life. Hopewell Stories, inspirational story, motivational story, miracle, faith, believe again, kindness, hope, life lessons, heartwarming, emotional story.